Hello everyone and welcome back to another video here on Sam's Crafty Castle, and today I just have this is mostly a coloring video, honestly. I was in the mood for it, so I had this vision. You just saw the sketch there real quick. I didn't show it for very long, but to do this set with a mini slimline, and I was originally thinking of using the flower on the edge because it's kind of like long and skinny, and I thought that'd be really cool along the edge of a mini slimline card. But then I pulled this set out, got everything out to start making this card, and was the big poppy image in this set was just really speaking to me that day, and I just really wanted to color it. And I was honestly being able to color the poppies red was kind of what was speaking to me. And I don't actually know what that other flower is. Not that I couldn't have colored it whatever color I wanted it to be, but still, in the moment, the poppies were speaking to me, so I decided to go with those. So I quickly grabbed out a mini slimline card base that I had and tried to see if the poppies would still fit nicely on the mini slimline, and they did. So then I debated if I wanted to do another like full-on one-layer card or if I wanted to add a layer, if you will. And ended up deciding that I was going to do this with my Copic markers, so decided to do what I like to call a cheating one-layer card. It's still one layer in terms of this is the only layer that's on the card. I don't add like an extra layer of paper, I guess. But because my Copic markers bleed, and I could have just put something on the inside, sure, of the card, but I decided to just use my I think it's Master Layout 7, that is the mini slimline one, and cut out a panel to go on the top, and then it just is easier that way. I don't have to cover up anything on the inside. I don't have to worry about the markers bleeding, anything like that. And I was having a really busy weekend, the weekend that I was filming this, so I was very much trying to fit filming in between other events and activities that I had going on. I seriously every year forget how quickly summer just gets crazy. I always think like going into summer, I'm always like, oh yeah, no, it'll be a nice chill summer, and the next thing I know I have something going on almost every weekend, which is my prime filming time. And so just like filming in between things. You just notice my shirt just changed, and I was gonna see how far I could get on the coloring in one day, and realized though that I did not pre-stamp this image, and I had stamped it, so I started coloring it, and then it's hard to see. You can see it a little bit on this video, if my hand will get out of the way. Let me see if I move my hand in a second. There we go. There's a little like black dot on the leaf that's like right above the flower there. That just happened from me not waiting, and I actually didn't even smear it with a marker. I smeared it with my hand, and I had started coloring and moved my hand and noticed the little ink smear mark from me rushing things, and I was like, oh, no, I can't color this today. I need to do it tomorrow. So I started it, and then remembered that we don't color things when we stamp them on the same day. We wait for them to dry overnight. So I was like, well, we're just gonna have to come back to it tomorrow. And so now we're finishing it up the next day. I actually use, these flowers are fairly big, which is kind of nice because it lets you use a lot of different colors on them. So I used actually 4 red Copic markers. I don't normally do that. I normally only use 3. But these flowers were nice and big and open spaces. There's not a lot of detail to them. The whole bouquet image, floral arrangement, whatever you want to call it, has a good amount of detail in it. There's some little tiny stems and things in there. But overall, these flowers are really nice open spaces, which is honestly one of my favorite things to color. I like when they have really big petals and things because I can do exactly this. I can add more colors, and I think that's fun. And so I'm doing my normal coloring method, I guess. This is just how I prefer to do it. There's obviously a million different ways that you can do coloring in whatever order works for you. I know a lot of people do prefer to do light to dark or to do shadow mapping, all that kind of stuff. I don't really do that. I just start with my darkest color and we just feel it out as we go. I don't plan it out very much. I just kind of see how it ends up, and then you can always go over and do another layer if something isn't looking quite the way I want it to. So, but I don't think I do any double layers on this one, except for at the very beginning. The shadowy areas, the darker areas that I had done Saturday. I was filming this on a Saturday and Sunday, so that I had done Saturday were dry. So marker won't blend if it's not wet. It needs to be wet to blend. And blending reds is tricky on its own. I don't think it's too bad, but I know a lot of people who do think it's really hard to get them to blend. I actually really like working with reds and purples, which I've heard from many other people though are the colors that they feel like they have the hardest time blending. But they're my two favorite colors to play with when I'm coloring for whatever reason, because pink is actually my favorite color, so you'd think it'd be pink, but it's not. I really like coloring things red and purple, which I think is good because those colors go together. But so a lot of people say that that's really hard to do, to blend reds and purples, so the marker being wet makes it blend easier. So I did go over you can't even tell because I did so little of it on Saturday before I realized that I, A, was running out of time, and B, remembered that I needed to let this dry overnight so that I didn't end up with a big smeary mess all over the place. And again, I stamped this in the Gina K Designs Obsidian ink, and I know I've said this in videos previously. Your results may vary as far as how long you need to let it dry. We are in the middle of a very hot and humid spell where I live, so the humidity is getting better, but it's still kind of gross. And so my stuff takes a little bit longer to dry sometimes. So I have to let it sit. I always like to let it sit overnight at the bare minimum. A lot of times I will let it sit for like several days, and part of that is just like me and when I have time to get into my craft room and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes I may like have 10 minutes one day and go, oh, I have this video coming up, so I'm just going to pre-stamp a couple things so that because I know I'm going to color them, and then I can let it dry over the next few days until I have time to get into my craft room again. And other times it's just like I'm a little more intentional about it and know like, oh, it has to stay overnight. And I'll test it sometimes, like this one. You could argue that I tested it to see if it would work, and it actually was not smearing much, which was kind of surprising to me with the markers, but I hadn't gotten super heavy-handed with the marker yet when I remembered to let it dry, so hard to say if it would have happened if I would have kept going. But you kind of got to test it for yourself and see how long you have to let it dry, but the longer you let it dry, the less you have to worry about it. But it's also, you got to figure it out. You can also heat set it a little bit if you want to, too, if you really are in a rush. But I would prefer to let it all air dry as much as I can. I do heat set things sometimes, but I usually prefer to let them air dry. Again, it's personal preference. I just prefer to do it that way. Now we're moving on to the leaves. The leaves are a lot smaller than the flowers are. So I think I do 3 colors. On all of the skinny little stems, I just take my darkest marker, which is what I'm using now, and go just one color on those because I don't want to try to get any more detailed than that. And again, personal preference. As far as how detailed you want to get, you can absolutely do some more detailed shading if you're really comfortable working in tiny little areas and all that kind of stuff. I'm not so much. So I've been working on it for years, but it can take me a little while to like pick up on stuff like that and get good at it, I guess. And I just haven't been practicing enough. I actually, like, I used to color so much, and I just haven't been as much lately. I've gotten into other hobbies, have gotten me away from my coloring a little bit, so as much, you pretty much see all the practice I do these days, when I do it for these videos. But I've got, like, years worth of kit and clouder classes that I'm still working my way through. And I also find that for coloring super detailed things, it takes longer, but I do prefer pencils. I think they're a little bit easier to do detailed things with, and I think they show the detail a little bit better than markers do. Again, that's just my experience. Your mileage may vary. Speaking of markers, I am very excited, and if I would have thought this through, I would have used these on this project, but I didn't think it through, because sometimes that happens. I'm excited because I just got gifted, well, kind of gifted, a set of the Karen brush markers, and I'm very excited. I've looked at getting them a few times, and then been like, girl, you've got your whole Copic select. I've got all 300 plus Copic markers. I've got all 150 Prismacolor pencils. I've got a decent selection of Tombow markers, and I was like, you really don't need to invest in another set of markers, because I still mostly use my Copic markers for pretty much everything, and then supplement that with my colored pencils for the most part. Like, I barely touch my Tombow markers these days. But the opportunity arrived that my aunt purchased the Karen brush markers, and then she didn't use them, and she asked me if I wanted them, and of course I said yes, because I cannot say no to markers, especially if someone is just going to give them to me. And I got those the day I was coloring this video, and if I was thinking, and I knew it was happening, I knew I was getting them that day, and if I, like, after I had them, like, in my hand, I was like, why did I start coloring that this morning? And I could have just waited and then used these on this project. I have not had a chance to get back in my craft room since I got them. And I can see them from where I'm sitting recording this right now, and I'm like, I really want to go, like, play with them. And I also just realized that one of my favorite things to do with my markers and stuff is do swatch charts. I've done my Copic swatch chart over, like, 3 or 4 times just because I like making swatch charts that much, and I just realized I get to make a new swatch chart for these markers now, and I actually don't think I have one for my Tombow markers. I used to, but I don't know where it is, so I think I might have to make a new one for those too. And now I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if I don't have a laminator, but one of my aunts does, and now I'm tempted to ask her if I can laminate my swatch charts again at some point, which would mean I'd get to do them all again, because they're all kind of gross, and I think it might be fun to have a laminated one. I'm rambling and getting distracted with all of these thoughts of fun swatch charts. I need to redo my ink swatches too. I really need to find some time to just, like, do some ink swatchy things. I'm almost done with my crop and create classes though. I've made a good solid dent in them. Now, granted, we're not really that far off at this point from the next one, but hopefully once that's done, then I'll have some time to tackle a couple of the, like, organization projects on my list that I'm excited about. So we're just finishing things up here. I talked long enough about swatch charts and markers and things. And I've just stamped a little happy birthday in the corner because that little happy birthday stamp fit in there perfectly, and I thought it was really cute. And then, because it needed some sparkle, I almost did make the flowers all sparkly. I almost went over all of that with a glitter pen, but that felt like too much to me. Although I did get an idea for another video at some point with glitter and coloring that I think will be really fun. But that's another time. So I just added a few little rhinestones to it just to add a little sparkle and jazz it up a little bit, I guess. and you need a little sparkle. But that's it. I just stuck that down with foam tape because I thought it would be fun to have it popped up a little bit. And that is this week's video. Kind of a clean and simple card, but I'm really, really liking these sort of like white backgrounds to like really highlight the coloring of things when you do that. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. I will see you again soon, and have a crafty day.